Yeah, we humans are super smart. We've got awesome brains that allow us to write great works of literature, come up with the general theory of relativity, and fly to the moon. Well, some people can do those things, but most of the rest of us are actually pretty dumb. But some animals have brains that can outperform us in certain specialized ways. So, what would happen if we swapped out our brains for theirs? Let's find out. Number 8. Elephant. Want to be less forgetful? Want to be better at remembering people? Want to enjoy a better social life? Then you need an elephant brain. Everyone knows elephants never forget, and this is no myth. Well, it's not true that they literally remember everything, but they do have super good memories, and they never forget a face. Sometimes, elephants who met many years before have been seen happily reuniting, so you'd never again have to worry about those embarrassing moments where you have to pretend to know who you're talking to. Although some people might get a bit freaked out by it. Hey, Jenny!
Oh, hey.
Bob, you don't remember me? We met that night at Jimbo's party.
Party? Jimbo? Oh, yeah, I remember. But that was like 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. How's Polly?
Polly? We split up.
Wow, I don't know, about 6 years ago, I guess? Oh, that's too bad. He seemed like a nice guy. And do you still work in that clothes boutique?
What? I need to go. Nice talking to you. Get away from me, you stalker!
Yeah, be careful how you use your new superpower. This ability comes partly from a highly complex hippocampus, one part of the brain involved in processing memories. This allows elephants to remember all the elephants in their herd, along with all the others they met during their lives. But the downside of this is that high-end hippocampus means you can also suffer from the elephant equivalent of PTSD. Elephants also have well-developed olfactory lobes, which give them a keen sense of smell. That would be a good thing to have sometimes, but maybe not all the time. An elephant's well-developed temporal lobe makes them good communicators, ideal for social interactions, and an elephant's cerebellum is well-developed too, which gives them exceptional control over their trunks. Not much use for you with your little human nose though. Okay, so an elephant's brain is 4 times the size of a human brain, so you'd look pretty ridiculous walking around with one of those inside your head. But other than that, for all the advantages you'd get, switching up your human brain for an elephant one could be a great option. Number 7. Koala. Do you prefer a simple, stress-free life? Then you should opt for the koala brain, the ideal choice for those who just want to kick back and chill. Especially if you're into leaves. Koalas are cute and cuddly critters that are known for their laziness and their love of sleeping, and their brains are perfect for this kind of lifestyle. Their favorite food are eucalyptus leaves, which are toxic by the way, and they don't get much nutrition from eating them. Their solution to this is to have a brain that's very small. It's about 60% smaller than the brains of other similar animals. This way, they don't have to waste valuable energy powering a big, calorie-hungry thinking organ. A koala brain is so small, it doesn't even fill the whole cranial cavity, and the rest of the space is taken up by cerebrospinal fluid. They also have one of the smoothest brains in the animal kingdom, making it simple and primitive, unlike the complex wrinkly brains of elephants and humans. Obviously, the price you'll pay is not doing well in school, or even hoping to score some kind of high-flying job. In fact, you won't even be able to carry out anything more than the simplest tasks like clinging to a tree and eating leaves all day. But if you have a koala brain, you're cool with that, man. Yeah, you're cool with that. Number 6. Spider. From one of the smallest brains to one of the biggest, relative to body size that is, here comes the spider. Spiders have such big brains they can take up 80% of their bodies. Some baby spiders are born with distended bodies to house their huge brains. And in some smaller species, their brains overflow their heads and take up a quarter of the space inside their legs too. Spiders have 8 legs, and 8 legs need extra brain power to coordinate. So having a body full of brains gives them extra deftness for things like hunting or spinning webs. So if you filled your head and most of the rest of your body with a spider brain, you'd probably end up with an unbelievable hand-eye coordination and be amazing at things like sports. Want to be the next Michael Jordan or Lionel Messi? Spider brain it is then. But on the downside, whenever you have a headache, it would probably spread to the rest of your body. Imagine having a headache in your arm. And you'd also probably spend the rest of your life laying traps, sitting in the dark by yourself, and eating anything and anyone that came close. So a spider brain is probably not ideal if you want to remain a part of human society. Number 5. Octopus. If there's one animal that can beat spiders for manual dexterity, it's octopuses. And they're super smart too, so perhaps an octopus brain is another option you'd like to consider. Actually, with octopuses, and yes, it's definitely octopuses and not octopi, they don't just have brains that grow down into their 8 tentacles, they basically have a separate brain in each one. Their main brain is in their head, and it functions as the control center responsible for all the big decisions in life. But simple jobs for each limb is left to the brain and that tentacle to manage, so each tentacle just does its own thing, and 60% of an octopus's neurons are found in the tentacle brains. So now imagine what that would mean for you if you also had an octopus brain. Yes, you'd be good at solving simple puzzles like an octopus, but your arms and legs would literally have a mind of their own. That could get you into all kinds of trouble. And nobody's going to believe you when you tell them it's because your mischievous arms are all controlled by their own individual brains. Yeah, right. Number 4. Chicken. What would happen if you swapped out your brain for a chicken one? Well, most people think chickens are about as dumb as they come, but that's doing them a bit dirty, because chickens are a lot smarter than they're given credit for. They have complex social structures and can remember who's who in the pecking order. Experiments have shown they can count and remember stuff better than some humans, right? And they can also demonstrate a certain amount of self-control, definitely something a lot of humans never manage to master. Chickens get bored when they've got nothing to do, and they can even trick each other. Sometimes, males have been heard giving the food call to attract more females to them, but it gets better. Once they try to pull this a few times, the hens wise up and no longer respond. Hey sweetie, how about I cook you a nice romantic dinner tonight?
Sure, that would be nice.
Why don't you come over to my place and I'll cook for you?
Sure, I like that.
And then there's that thing about headless chickens, because it turns out chickens can really survive without their heads and the brains they carry. In one example, a chicken lost its head but lived on for 18 months because most of the brainstem remained intact and a blood clot prevented it from bleeding to death. So if by any chance you find yourself facing the guillotine, perhaps swapping your brain out for a chicken one beforehand could help you survive a bit longer, even after your head comes off. Or maybe not. Number 3. Sea squirt. One brain you probably don't want is a sea squirt brain, and not just because a sea squirt brain is really tiny. Sea squirts, also known as ascidians, are invertebrate filter feeders that are found in seas around the world. They start life as tiny tadpole-like larvae, and in this form, they have brains, as well as primitive spines and a single eye. Right, it doesn't sound like much of a start in life, but it gets worse. After spending about a day and a half swimming around as a tadpole, the larva settles on a surface and attaches itself there, and then doesn't move again for the rest of its life. Once in place, it no longer has any use for its brain, spine, or eye, so it absorbs them and uses the nutrients to grow a stomach. The creature then sits where it is for as long as it lives, feeding on whatever floats by on the current. So what would a human equivalent be? Maybe sitting down in an armchair, eating your own brain, and then never getting up again? Then again, that's not so different from humans spending their days sitting in front of their telephones, mindlessly watching videos on YouTube about things like what would happen if they had the brains of different animals. So yeah, maybe you should consider getting up and doing something useful with your life? But not until you've gotten to the end of this video and given us a like and a follow before you leave. Number 2. Lizard. You must have heard people talking about our lizard brain. This is the idea that we evolved from reptile-like ancestors, and the most primitive parts of our brains responsible for basic stuff like bodily functions and survival are what's left from back then. Okay, it's a bit more complicated than that, but we'll leave it at that for now. But what if you really change your human brain for a lizard one? Well, the more advanced parts of your brain like the limbic system and the cortex would be far simpler and less developed. Those are the parts of your brain responsible for things like emotions and complex decisions, so you'd no longer be able to plan ahead, and you wouldn't have any feelings for people, or even form any emotional bonds.
Babe, I love you so much. You're the man of my dreams. I feel so lucky to have you.
Okay.
I love you more and more each day. When we're apart, I can't stop thinking about you. And when we're together, I feel like I'm floating on clouds. I don't know what I'd do without you. You really are my whole world, my entire universe. And I've got some amazing news for you too. I'm pregnant. You're going to be a daddy. Isn't that the most amazing thing? You must be so excited.
It's fine.
But honey, you don't seem pleased. How do you feel?
I feel hungry, want food. You also wouldn't experience social emotions like shame, guilt, or pride, and you'd operate on reflex, just reacting instinctively to whatever happens next. That doesn't actually sound that bad for some professions, and it's just about ideal if you want to be a politician. Maybe that crazy conspiracy theory about us being ruled by lizard overlords isn't so wild after all. Oh, but if you had a lizard brain, you also wouldn't be able to speak. So maybe giving them all a lizard brain could be one way to finally get all the politicians to shut up and stop lying. Number 1. Shark. So what if you got a shark brain? Would it turn you into a fearsome, remorseless killer? Well, no, not exactly, but also maybe a bit. First of all, if you want a great white brain, it would be 3 or 4 times bigger than your human brain, so you'd have a pretty odd-looking head. And they're not the same shape as a human brain either. They're long and thin, so that would make your head look even weirder. With a great white brain, you'd have a good sense of smell, but you'd also have the ability to detect the electromagnetic field given off by living animals when they move. Not quite sure what applications that would have for a human, but it would probably make you quite a good hitman or a ninja if you were trying to take someone out who was trying to hide from you. Many sharks are pretty intelligent in their own way and can often adapt well to new situations. They can even grow new neurons, some things humans can't do, so they can repair or even change their brains as required. Some sharks like great whites can be social and sometimes form packs, so you wouldn't necessarily have to give up having friends. But you remember that line from Jaws about sharks just swimming and eating and making little sharks? Well, those will probably end up being the 3 things you spend most of your time doing. Although, actually, now you come to think of it, that doesn't sound so bad really, does it? I don't know. Which animal brain would you like? Or are you just happy to remain a super intelligent, dumb human? Let us know in the comments.